What do you get when you throw two natural born intuitive mediums together with a passion for animals and empowerment?
Spirits, angels, and guides. Oh my. I'm empowerment medium Tara Diana.
And I am intuitive medium Nancy Brady. Together, we focus on the good,
The bad,
and the ugly of working with the spirit realm.
but mostly we're focusing on the good.
Hey Tara, how you doing?
Hello, Nancy. I am lovely. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you too. And welcome back, listeners or YouTube viewers. We have an exciting episode for you today. We are going to talk, and you've probably heard every single medium talk about that phrase, people come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime.
It is one of the most used phrases in the metaphysical world.
Yes. But you know, Tara, I never get sick of hearing it because I can't tell you how many times if I have somebody come into my world and I'm like, oh my gosh, it's serendipitous. Like when you and I met and I go, oh, she's a lifer. I got her in there for a lifetime, you know? Or at one point I had a horrible narcissistic boss. And I remember looking at her and thinking to myself, you're going to be my toughest lesson yet. And I knew she was there for a reason. Right. So there's all those different, reason, season, or a lifetime that people come in. What's your thoughts on that?
You know, and sometimes you have no idea what this individual is meant to teach you, how long they're going to be there, why they're even there. Like, there doesn't have to be that moment like we knew with each other where like, oh, okay, this person is part of our pod, right? This person is meant to be with us. And I feel like they can come back. You can, it goes back to that soul cutting, but cord cutting, et cetera, et cetera. It goes back to that because you can let someone go and have them come back into your life in a different way. And I don't know, but sometimes a reason is more important than if they're there for a lifetime. It is the quality of why they're there. What are they giving you? And it always makes me laugh because we surround ourselves unknowingly with individuals that are either going through something that we are going through, right? I always go back to that story about a lovely friend of mine, Tina, and I used to do parties together. And we went to this party and there was a whole whackload of women. They were eating charcuterie boards and drinking lots of wine. And we were doing individual readings for them. And when we came out of that session, that event, that party, and I remember getting in the car with Tina, I was like, damn, I don't know about you, but all of them that I read for were either cheating on their husbands, getting a divorce, unhappy in some way. Like there was in a relationship, didn't have to be husbands, in relationships. I said, and she's like, oh, you too? And I thought to myself, that was the first time I really thought about how we energy begets energy, right? We bring certain things into our lives. And I guarantee you that those women all gathering together like that were holding each other's space. And you might be going, well, I don't need to have a bunch. If I'm having a problem with my relationship, I don't want a bunch of other people having problems with their relationships. That just kind of feeds the little piranhas, and we all go this way. My point being here, though, Nancy, honestly, is that they were coming in, though, and they were all kind of around each other, not to have terrible experiences, but to be able to support each other. You know what? I understand what you're going through. I feel that. Oh, I've been down that road before.
Yeah, it wasn't just sympathy, it was empathy because they were going through it. And it's, and I feel that the same thing, you and I have done a lot of animal rescue work.
Uh-huh.
And we are very actively involved in the spiritualist church. And so those different communities offer different things to us. It's a feel-good factor when you can help an animal that can't help itself. When you can go and have your energy elevated with like-minded people at the church, that's also phenomenal, right? And it's where I find I spend a lot of time is the seasonal reflection. And I always have to remember it's not personal because I'm a Taurus. So I either love you or, you're, I shut it down, like forget it. And so when the doors close and it's a mutual door closing, I go, okay, you know what? I get it. We're done with the lessons we had, the time we had to put together. But when those doors slam and you're going, I don't know what my part or my lesson was in that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I do know what you mean. And the seasonal, again, I go back to, we hold as people who carry empathy so strongly within us, we hold the idea that maybe we did something wrong, no matter how strongly you're standing in your power, right? You talked about being Taurus. Everyone knows I'm a Scorpio. So you stand in that space and you're like, I am as right as the day is bright, right? Like this is it. This is what I'm seeing. Doesn't mean I'm not flexible, but sometimes you get into that space that your humanness comes through. We can be, talking about spiritualism all day long, and spiritualism does not negate you being a spiritualist, does not negate you being human. Just sorry to burst anyone's bubble out there. So don't use spiritualism as an excuse for bad behavior. Just saying. Back to my topic. Having said all that,
72.
So here's the thing. We can be standing in our truth and our strength and saying something and really feeling it, but how you say it is everything. So if you said something and doors are slamming and you're like, no, I don't need that person. I don't need that lesson anymore. I learned it. You can still have that feeling of, okay, well, is that person coming back anytime? Am I open to that person coming back? Am I going to go and learn something from this? And so we talk about that seasonal. And for me, that is really the ability to say, okay, you know what? We had our moment. This is what it was meant to be, a reason to season our lifetime. We had it, and I'm going to let it go. And whatever happens, happens. Mm-hmm. If we go, and this is interesting, Nancy, and I want your thoughts on this. If we go and 3 weeks later, we're like, nah, that door shouldn't have slammed shut like that. Mm-hmm. Let's have a conversation. We have the free will choice to be able to go back and say, okay, wait a second. What happened here? Mm-hmm. Is there something that we could, open up again and have a new conversation in a different way? Because a lot of doors shutting usually come from the place of speaking your truth, but not coming from your heart. So the words come out, the tone is harsh. And in whatever way, and that can be back at you, right? You can be hurt by someone who has, spoken their truth, but not done it in a way that is allowing you to actually hear what's being said. Instead, you just embody it. It's just like, boom, right? That's why they always say, Nancy, that we shouldn't like to have deep conversations on text messaging or emails, right?
Yeah, it's for me too. It's all about how it's communicated, right? There's so much on text and email that can be misunderstood because you don't know when you send that message how that person woke up that morning and how they're going to read it. So you might type, I hope you're having a good day. And if they're thinking it, they're reading it in a sarcastic way, or they're, having a horrible moment where they're just perceiving that message wrong, or they're going to receive it right. And so I feel that a lot of those seasonal ones, those doors close from misunderstanding or miscommunication. And I agree, there's all sorts of times you can go back and open that door and go, hey, is it still there? Are you welcome to come back in? But then there's other times where, that door should stay shut.
I was just going to say that to you. And there's other times where you're just like, okay, you know what? Didn't like the way that happened, but I'm okay with it happening for sure. And, again, I was just thinking about this in text when you're texting and someone adds an extra question mark. And all of a sudden you're like, what? Or an extra exclamation mark. And you're like, Dina, what are you talking about? Like, what? It's so funny. But, as someone who works with energy all day, every day, we can also get consumed by it. We can be like overthinking it, or, we can be like, oh, what does this mean today? And that brings me to a funny point. Lifetime people will always, always call you out.
Yes. Yeah.
In a nice manner. Can be firm, can be a little bit lippy, but in a way that you can hear them. Why? Because they're your people.
And the difference is you hear them. And it's interesting because, I have a sort of corporate day job. And so I'm always reading these business development books, etc. And one of the things they said is when you're talking, people are usually not listening actively because they're thinking of the next thought.
The next response. How are they going to respond?
Okay, exactly. And so that's one of the things I find really interesting. And a lot of the times when I sit and I overanalyze everything and I go, and you're right, it's not always a spiritual thing. Like for me, it's a growth. Okay, what was the lesson in this? But I don't feel that everything is spiritually related. I feel
I feel a trigger coming on. A moment of trepidation here. A whole lot of things about to come out. Just preparing everyone.
Yeah, get ready, people. But there are some people in our worlds where everything has this spiritual attachment. And I feel a lot of the reason season lifetime thing is, of course, it's about our soul evolution, but it's also about just living in your human through and through.
Absolutely. We are here as spirit to have a human experience. If we negate the human experience, doesn't that mean you have to come back and do it again and again and again? Right? So that brings us to the whole karma thing and the good come to me, good go through me. If we are with someone that is just a reason, right? A lesson. They're all lessons, but a quick lesson. Like, here's this moment, someone passing through, right? Lesson. Or a season. Okay, we've spent some time together. We've done some growing together. Maybe we've done some backpedaling together, but we've done some together. Okay, and there's been a significant amount of time. Or if it's the lifetime where we are like, okay, like I'm your boo from here to forever, and we're good. And those boos are the ones, it sounds like I said booze, but maybe your boos do. But your boos are the ones that you can like go for a month and like have like the most limited conversation of, hey, you good? Yeah, I'm good. Okay. Or no conversation at all, and pick up like, hey, talked to you, 20 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Those are the people that you know are really, really the ones in your life. And they're not always going to walk the same walk as you or talk the same talk as you. So, yes, I belong to a spiritualist church. What does that mean? I have a community around me that believes in the same philosophy that I do, right? Hierarchy of angels, be good to one another, blah, 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 all the good things. And we talk to dead people. Okay, a little bit extra out there. But I also have a really strong community in, let's say, my son and his sports when he was still here and he played sports. Right? I have this really strong community. I have I have people that don't always walk the same path as me, but they hold my space.
Mm-hmm.
They love me.
Exactly.
Not because I speak to dead people, although people love that. Let me tell you, I don't think there's one person in my world that doesn't be like sneaky. Oh, you talked to they love to hear about things. But they don't require it of me. Same with the spiritualist people. They don't require it of me. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I'm saying?
100%.
You know where I'm coming from? You know where it's at?
I do. 100% hear you. And the flip side of that, we talk about all this goodness and the lifetime and the community this supports you. One thing I see as a consistent as I've aged is it's almost like every decade or so that seasonal gets cleaned out. So as I evolve and I grow and I change and I find out what my boundaries are energetically or whatever, however you have it, sometimes you grow apart. Things don't align. And so you kind of go, okay, you know what? That's where I was talking about a lot of that stuff. You peacefully part ways because you realize, I'm the same as you. I've got friends in all sorts of different assets of my life that are all friends for different reasons. We all offer something back and forth to each other. But I'll tell you something, when it gets to a point where we kind of are evolving and you imagine the shape of a Y and they're going one direction, I'm going another, sometimes it's okay to close that door, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Because there's no growth in stay. Do you know what this reminds me of? I'm not off topic. Stay with me. But this reminds me of do not laugh when I tell you this, Nancy. When the whole Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie and Jennifer Aniston thing was happening, and oh, Angelina is a husband stealer and blah, blah, blah. And everyone was like, I'm Team Aniston, I'm Team, Jolie. And I was like, oh my God. All I could think of was, you don't have to be team anything.
Right?
You have to think, why would you want to stay in a marriage with someone who has found love with someone else, regardless of if they were in a movie together or they got on a bus together? Regardless, why would that be okay? Why would you think that he should just stay?
But you know what's interesting?
In love with Aniston.
While you're talking about this, sorry to interrupt you. This draws in what we were talking about, the reason or season thing, in the sense that I find a lot of people need to align themselves with that empathy. So, I was done wrong by a person.
Absolutely.
On Team Aniston, or, oh no, I'm going to totally, so because it aligns with them and their beliefs and the experiences that they've had in this lifetime.
And, it might have sounded like I was Team Jolie, but I really wasn't Team anyone. And I'll tell you why. Because I truly believe that if you are in love with someone, then you are deeply in love with that person. That no matter who walks into your space, it doesn't matter, because you only have eyes for this person. I don't believe that, there has to be a right or wrong to it. It just simply is.
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God, now we're going to have the Team Jolie and Team Aniston people sending us nasty messages. I'm Team Nobody, just saying.
You're both Team Nobody. No triggers here.
But that was literally a thought that was going through my mind at the time. Why are you guys all picking teams? Let it be what it is. First of all, none of our business, baby. And second of all, we don't get to have a say in it regardless. Nobody be calling me. And if Brad Pitt's calling me up and saying, great psychic medium, Tara, who should I stay with? I don't know. Spirit says, right? I mean,
yeah.
We do tend to get involved in other people's business a little more than we probably ought to.
As humans, it gives us a lot of focus away from ourselves and what we're working. Definitely. I'd be interested into our listeners' feedback around this one. What is a person that has come into your world for a reason or season or lifetime, and how did they make a difference in your world, in a positive way, or in a way that changed the trajectory of where you were going? I'd be very interested in that from our listeners.
Me too. And even go a step further with that. And how about the people that have left our lives due to crossing over, right? Some of the impacts with that too, was there unfinished business? Can you lay the unfinished business to rest? Oh, that's a whole nother podcast, my sweet friend.
Yes, it is. We'll add it to the list.
Well, I'll add it to the list. Our list. Oh, hello, Doji. For those that are watching on YouTube, this is the newest rescue dog. He's been a bad boy today, but we love him regardless. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, you're missing the cutest corgi lab cross you've ever seen.
Yes, we're not sure what the dog is, but Tara's going to do a DNA. It's going to be...
Yes. Oh my God, we'll unveil it. Okay.
Yeah, we'll do it on the podcast. We'll unveil it. It'll be good. Well, Tara, it has been a fantastic talk. I think this is a good spot to wrap it up. For those listeners, Tara was on a wonderful trip away for a long time, and she did some research for our next podcast. Tara did research. Tara did research.
I did. Well, on the plane all the way to Japan, I was reading up on Ed and Lorraine Warren.
Yeah.
And it's going to be all sorts of triggers, all up and down and all over the place for me. But stay tuned, because we are going to get into that pretty darn quick.
Absolutely. Until next time, listeners, thank you always for listening to our podcast. I'm signing off. Nancy Christine Brady.
Oh my God, I totally talked over you, beautiful. You please continue. Continue telling them who you are. What do you do, my friend?
Did I say she was lifetime for a reason or a season? What is she? Why is Tara here? I am Nancy Christine Brady, intuitive medium animal communicator, and you are
Tara Diana, empowerment medium, who we actually apparently doesn't know why she's here, but maybe that's another podcast. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Bye.